I was trying to cook up a boxing cricket crossover segue, like who's the heavyweights, who's the cruiserweight, who's the bantamweights, and
You might get some big hits in there. I don't know.
yeah, I get what you're saying. In that sense, Tom Bruce, he's a knockout artist. He's there to finish the fight. Same with Jess Watkin. But I want to talk about Blackcaps cricket because they are in the midst of their ODI series against Sri Lanka. And not only, like, first and foremost, like, Super Smash is incredibly fun. We got Kiwis showing up in full force to watch the Blackcaps take on Sri Lanka. Big crowds for the T20s. Big crowd in the first ODI. We got the second ODI coming at you from Hamilton on Wednesday. We are recording this on Tuesday, which means that we have Canterbury versus Otago in a Super Smash game day today, Tuesday afternoon. Blackcaps on Wednesday, then Wellington versus CD game day on Thursday. So this gives us an away tour to Sri Lanka, T20s and ODIs, and a home series of T20s and ODIs against Sri Lanka. Nice little gauge, nice little measurement of where the Blackcaps are at in ODI and T20 cricket. And I think they're doing pretty well. Like, overall, they're winning games. And like this, not an expert on Sri Lankan cricket, but it does seem like a fairly strong Sri Lankan lineup. Like, a lot of big names, a lot of guys they're talking up as, oh, he's got an IPL gig, or this guy bowls 150, whatever it is. And that's probably why the Blackcaps lost in Sri Lanka. But now they're winning in New Zealand. I think that's a very impressive. Like, everything you were saying about domestic football, National League football stepping up to A-League, like, that applies to domestic cricket and international cricket on the Blackcaps pipeline as well. And I think this is a very, we'll see how the next ODI goes, but this is a very nice little summary of the Blackcaps pipeline, where they are winning games in front of big crowds, or they're at least playing competitive games in front of big crowds with a pretty funky squad. And we've talked a lot about the young talent in Aotearoa and how that has crept into the Blackcaps and how that has freshened up the Blackcaps. Otherwise known as a refresh, otherwise known as a freshen up. They've added some spice to the Blackcaps. The likes of Rachin Ravindra, Will O'Rourke. We've seen Glenn Phillips become an all-format player. We've seen Nathan Smith make his debut. Ben Sears has made his debut. T20 cricket, we got Tim Robinson opening the batting. We got Zach Folks just being exquisite with bat and ball. Now Mitch Hay seems to be the frontline ODI T20I wicketkeeper. There's a lot of young talent stepping up. There's fresh vibes emerging into the Blackcaps. But in a weird way, the freshest thing about the Blackcaps are the older players who have freshened up the Blackcaps. Most notably, Will Young and Matt Henry. I think Jacob Duffy is in this mix as well. And I'd extend the invitation out to Mark Chapman. Maybe even Michael Bracewell. But to me, the best freshen up zone is Will Young by himself. Then we can go a bit further to Matt Henry. Then we can go a bit further to some of the older lads who have taken first 11 opportunities, especially like just stacking up games, stacking up series, and pushing their case forward for more honours, more selection. And obviously the freshen up vibes, we've got Mitchell Santner as captain as well. He's got a winning record as a T20 captain, can't remember off the top of my head, and I think he might be building into a winning record as a ODI captain. But he's got far less games as captain in the ODI arena. But he's been a very good T20 captain over the course of like 20 to 30 games, so a nice sample size there with a winning record. The Matt Henry freshness is a bit more obvious because he's like He's kind of settled into the Test team as the front line. Like, his freshness is him becoming the best Test bowler in the Blackcaps. Part of the Matt Henry freshness is also him becoming a T20 monster. He's got a T20 bowling average of 23.6, and he was fantastic in the T20 series against Sri Lanka. 2 wickets, 2 wickets, 1 wicket. And obviously, he's an ODI monster. He's always been an ODI monster. So here are Matt Henry's international bowling averages: 29.8 in Test cricket, 25.8 in ODIs, 23.6 in T20 internationals. Undisputed, undeniable, Matt Henry is the best New Zealand bowler right now. And the freshness
I wonder how many other Blackcaps we have. This is not an answerable question, but rhetorically, I wonder how many other Blackcaps bowlers there are in history who are under 30 in all 3 formats. It might just be like Trent Bolt, and I'm sure there's a couple other stragglers along there who've played fewer games, but Matt Henry's doing crazy things there.
Yeah, I appreciate your rhetorical question. Maybe just wait till the end of a sentence before you ask the rhetorical question, or come with your facts. Like, if you got the facts, hit me with the facts, but don't ask rhetorical questions. Crikey, Jack. I need answers. I don't need more questions. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's C newsletter on Friday. I might look this up because.
But Matt Henry, he is awesome. He's the best bowler from New Zealand right now, and he's again, the freshness is him becoming the best Test bowler, and also excelling in T20 cricket. He's played 83 ODIs. He's only played 30 Tests. Only played 21 T20 internationals. But the super fresh thing is Will Young. Like, Will Young's just amazing. He has excellent scores across a bunch of formats in his last 10 games. He didn't necessarily start the Indian tour very well, but he finished it with 71, 51. He's had a 19 and 30 in the T20 series in Sri Lanka. Scores of 48, 26, 56 not out in the ODIs in Sri Lanka. His 1 Test against England, 42, 60. 1 Super Smash game, 50. 1 ODI, 90 not out, which means Will Young has 4 50-plus scores in his last 5 innings. 2 of them are not outs. And in this 4-game stretch of ODI cricket against Sri Lanka, Will Young has 220 runs, averaging 110, strike rate of 91.6. Which means he's got the highest strike rate of the 4 Blackcaps who have scored 50-plus runs in these 4 ODIs against Sri Lanka. That's why you always got to just check, like, obviously T20 cricket, you've got to keep an eye on the strike rates because you don't want dudes like just dotting them up. And there's a certain baseline of performance that you need to have in T20 cricket, which we can assess further in the Super Smash breakdown. But it's just a good gauge. Like, if you're the leading run scorer, again with a Tom Bruce, Jess Watkin, if you're the leading run scorer and you've got one of the best strike rates, that's just... those are green flags. Those are fireworks surrounding the statistical information. And Will Young, like, we can go stats, we can go eye test. When you watch Will Young bat, you're having a good time. Like, he's playing all sorts of shots. And they are just beautiful to watch.
Except for that 1 sweep shot where he did the splits, but...
I mean, that was beautiful
still effective.
To watch.
Beautiful might not be the word I'd have chosen, but...
He middled it. He slipped over and he middled it.
which
what
was incredible.
Like, I'm talking beautiful shots. I'm talking boundaries, regardless of how you're standing.
Yeah, well, tick that box.
If you can hit a boundary on your backside, mate, you're doing well. That's beautiful to me. I'm not a cricketing snob. Like, however you want to do it, it's beautiful. And Will Young's doing it amazing. There's a whole lot of like wrinkles here. The one thing I do want to settle on before I throw it to you is, if we're trying to build out this Champions Trophy ODI squad team, I think a good place to start is 3 best batters. Three best batters, first three batters in my ODI team. Now, my three best batters for Aotearoa, we're going Kane Williamson, we're going Rachin Ravindra, we're going Will Young. And there's my rankings. In the ODI team, I'm going Will Young, Rachin Ravindra, Kane Williamson. And you can chuck, like, obviously Daryl Mitchell deserves to be in the conversation. We've got Glenn Phillips. We've got all sorts of cricketers who can fill out the rest of the ODI spots. We've got a lot of all-rounders. We've got a good bowlers. But if I'm thinking about a Blackcaps team for an international tournament, major tournament, where we may even get India versus Pakistan. If I'm talking about a major tournament, I want my three best batters in my first three spots. Those three dudes are Kane Williamson, Will Young, Rachin Ravindra. That wasn't in order. That was just me listing them. Now, of course, there's always going to be this conversation about Devon Conway. Devon Conway is worse than Will Young right now. Will Young is better than Devon Conway. Personally, I don't think Devon Conway's coming back into the Blackcaps, and I'm feeling really good about that top three for an ODI team, given all the skills and attributes you need in ODI cricket.
Yeah, there's a few funky ones when it comes to that Champions Trophy squad, where I think the way you've framed it with the freshness of the team that we're seeing at the moment, there's like, because Conway is the biggest example of this, where the funky selections almost have to do with how much you want to embrace the freshness and how much you want to go back to the things before the freshness, which is in this case Will Young versus. I'm sipping on freshness too if I can, because I think Will Young, like you said, is just fresh up.
Specifically fresh up.
Yeah,
Are you just juice? Are you
not really either? I got bad teeth, so those things are full of sugar. You know, I gotta be careful with that stuff. I keep my sugar intake to my cups of tea. But I'll keep sipping on that if I can. You know, you can have a fresh brew for sure. But I agree with what you said. I think Will Young is just plain and simple right now better than Devon Conway. Rachin Ravindra is better than Devon Conway. Well, Devon Conway doesn't have to open. I mean, you can find a spot for him in there at 4, but I think Daryl Mitchell is also better than Devon Conway. And if you're investing in Mitch Hay as your wicketkeeper alongside, you know, him and Tom Latham, the two wicketkeepers clearly in the ODI scene, I think Hay might even be just number one now at the T20 stuff. We'll see. Like, that we need to see them play more series and get an idea a little bit more. But I mean, Tom Latham is probably in that team as 5, and if he's in the team at 5, he's going to be keeping. And then if Mitch Hay's in your squad, you don't need Devon Conway as a backup keeper. Finn Allen's no longer a backup keeper because he's not going to be playing. I mean, you kind of, in that case, if you make that decision that Young and Ravindra are your best opening pairing, I don't know that there's even a spot for Devon Conway in the squad, let alone in the first 11. So that's where it gets quite interesting, because are they willing to do that? I mean, he doesn't have a contract, so there's an excuse there that they can lean into, but they're also Williamson doesn't count, but he's his own unique thing. He can do what he wants because he's earned that. But Lockie Ferguson feels like another example where do you bring him back without a contract, or Adam Milne even? Because when they went to Sri Lanka, Lockie Ferguson was in that squad. And when Lockie Ferguson got injured and couldn't play, Adam Milne was the guy that they called up. But since then, we've seen a little bit more Nathan Smith and a little bit more Will O'Rourke and a little bit more Zach Folks, at least in the T20 stuff. So, and Jacob Duffy has been excellent in these games against Sri Lanka recently. So that might actually be the most important factor in all this. If you say Will O'Rourke is your fast bowler and Duffy can come in there and do the job that maybe Tim Southee used to do to some extent, with Matt Henry being Matt Henry at the other end, well, then you've got decisions to make there as well on where you go. Doesn't look great for Ish Sodhi getting back in there with Mitchell Santner as your frontline spinner, and then because you've got that's less about Sodhi versus Santner, it's more about Sodhi versus Bracewell and Phillips and Ravindra as alternative spinning options. Playing in Pakistan, it'll be dry, but it'll also probably be flat. So I don't know if it's not as clear a leg spinning great. Although he did go on the the last time they played in Pakistan in test matches, he did go and bowled quite well from memory. So, we'll leave that one at least a possibility. But there's a few of these different situations there where it's like some of these guys who, and in Devon Conway's case, it's clearer than anything. It's like you're right now not playing ODIs that are preparation for the Champions Trophy. Well, if you don't get picked for the Champions Trophy because someone else came in and played in your place and scored more runs than you were scoring, well, tough luck. You kind of made a decision that left this door open for someone else. If someone else goes through that door, well, that's how international cricket's supposed to work. So that's how sport full stop is supposed to work. You can't protect your space if you're not there to protect it. So, yeah, well, it's a little bit. I think when that squad does get named, I think we're in for a little bit of a gauge on how things look. But if going by we're going by recent trends, I suspect the freshness wins out.
Here's a quick little attempt at a squad just to help frame the next two ODIs as well versus Sri Lanka. I think Ferguson will be in the squad. I think Ferguson, you realize you're just about to repeat yourself, and you're just like, well, I don't need to say that because I just said that again.
That is a commentary trick, though. I think Ferguson should be in the squad. I really think Ferguson should be in the squad. That's you hear that plenty of times. You'll repeat yourself, but just a little bit more emphasis the second time.
So my top 6 batters, we got Will Young, Rachin Ravindra, Kane Williamson, Daryl Mitchell, and then Tom Latham, wicketkeeper, Glenn Phillips, number 6. So I'd have Chapman and Hay as backups in the batting department. I can see a situation where Devon Conway's in the squad but doesn't make the first 11. But I can also see that not happening. And then we've got bowlers, Will O'Rourke, Matt Henry, Mitchell Santner, Lockie Ferguson, Jacob Duffy, Michael Bracewell. So that's a squad of 14. Usually these squads are 15 players. You could either get in I think the most likely players to come in for that last spot will be Nathan Smith or Zach Folks. You could also select Tim Robinson to boost the batting, or you could go with Ishodi to boost the spinning, whichever way you want to go. But I think that's the core of the ODI team. And I'm not going backwards. Like a lot of people, they still want to go backwards with Blackcaps cricket because they think that the Blackcaps were only good when they had a couple of the golden generation of players. And I'm pretty confident in my perspective and my belief that the New Zealand cricket is just awesome at cricket. Kiwis love cricket and Kiwis love playing cricket, and we're producing really good cricketers who will take the Blackcaps forward. And I think that is evident in the whole fresh vibes across the Blackcaps pipeline. What have you made of, I think, so Will Young scored a lot of runs, Matt Henry's taken a lot of wickets. You did mention Jacob Duffy. Is there anyone else, any little pockets that you've seen from the last week or so of Blackcaps cricket? Because we did have I think there was one more T20. Let me just pull up the T20 stats to get a perspective there. Like Tim Robinson had a nice knock. Rachin Ravindra's kind of been simmering along. And yeah, so any other little pockets for the Blackcaps in there from their series against Sri Lanka, but that's just top of mind heading into a major tournament?
Not massively. I think something that was a big talking point earlier on the summer was their fielding. I think their fielding's been very good lately. It sort of came right after the first test was shocking against England, but it sort of came right in the rest of that test series. But it's not just the catching that's been very good. I think that there's been a couple run outs that have been awesome. Was it Santner had one in one of the recent games? I remember as well. My favorite one of them all was Nathan Smith running as in the Test series, running at Harry Brook was fantastic stuff. So they've been able to well, to manufacture wickets in the field as well as with the ball bowling. So there's been a clear trend back towards expectations there for the Black Caps. That's been good. Other than that, I mean, not really. It sort of feels like they're doing what they need to do, but you get a nice little contributions from a few different players as well. Like Daryl Mitchell in the T20s snacking some big runs was good because it felt like he maybe needed some of that. I think the one thing we're still waiting on is a big Rachin Ravindra score. He's had a lot of, like you said, I think simmering was the word you used there. It feels like he's had a lot of good starts and he hasn't sort of ripped into one yet, but we know he can. And I'd rather see him getting out the way he's getting out, where it feels like he's in and then like picks out like the first ODI, he picked out a fielder on the boundary trying to hit a six to bring up his 50. Like it's there's a little bit of judgment there where it's like you could have picked a better shot. You could have, I mean, a little bit less risky in that spot. You didn't have to go for that. We were ahead of the run rate kind of thing. But also, if he's getting himself out, it's a lot better than Devon Conway dangling the bat out there and being nicked off or inside edges onto the stumps over and over and over again. Like Ravindra is out there putting in competitive battles against the bowler time and time again. He's not getting out cheaply and early, so that's fine. I sort of feel like that is simmering. That is a case of a guy who the next time he might just not make that mistake and he scores an unbeaten 100. Who knows? Tomorrow he might score an unbeaten 100 leading into the David Nika title fight. We'll see. But yeah, it's good stuff there. And then on top of that, it's Matt Henry being amazing with the ball in all formats, because he was always amazing with the ball in ODIs. I looked this up and he's never had a year averaging under 30. Never had a calendar year averaging over 30, sorry, with the ball in ODI cricket. He did have a year last year in which he didn't play a single ODI, which the Black Caps in general didn't play very many. And when they did, they rotated a little bit. So there weren't a lot of a lot of opportunities there in general, but which is a weird thing when they're now leading into a semi-major tournament. It's not a World Cup, but it is a Champions Trophy. There is a trophy on the line. We did win it once upon a time, 25 years ago. So it's a trophy that for a little while there didn't exist, so they could squeeze in more T20 World Cups. But for some reason, apparently they brought it back. So cool. We'll try win it again. But yeah, like Matt Henry has always been great at ODIs. He used to not play T20s, and he used to be kind of bang average, mediocre at test matches. Like he at one point his average was above 50 and floating in the high 40s for quite a while there. And the last 3 years, he's been amazing at all three formats, which is very funny when you think like it's a straight line for his ODI stuff. He's just continued on what he's always been doing. The T20 stuff, the reason he wasn't so good before is because he wasn't playing. It's not like he was playing and getting smashed. He just wasn't playing a lot of T20s. Now he's playing a lot of T20s and being great. The test stuff, he did used to play and he did used to get smashed, and now he's unplayable. He plays and he's unplayable. That makes sense, but it doesn't make sense if you don't follow sporting lingo. But whatever. Matt Henry's just great. Matt Henry is New Zealand's best pace bowler right now. He's our best bowler, full stop. He might even be our best cricketer, full stop, considering his availability. He's always there and he's always taking wickets.
I think best cricketer, you're looking at, I think Daryl Mitchell deserves a salute in that discussion. I think it's Matt Henry and Daryl Mitchell for the overall best Kiwi cricketer.
I'm happy with that.
But I'd say Matt Henry, his test stuff's the same as his T20 stuff, though, because he wasn't playing consistent tests. So he'd pop up for a test and he'd have to do a tough job, and that didn't really... this doesn't really align with just dominant performances. Slide back to Ravindra.
Well, the other thing with Henry, what changed is Trent Boult stopped playing. So when Trent Boult stopped playing, and it wasn't just when Henry was playing, he was bowling first change, third choice bowler. He was bowling with the new ball, and he's so clearly just more effective with the new ball.
Slide back to Ravindra. The good thing about Ravindra, especially in one-day cricket, is he has a ODI strike rate of 109, let's round it up, 109, and he's got a list A strike rate of 101. So in both one-day formats, Rachin Ravindra has a strike rate over 100. So even if, like, okay, Rachin Ravindra, because he does feel someone like he's, as you said, he can get out at any stage, regardless of how in he is. And his last 10 games, he's got a lot of single-digit scores. I'll go through them quickly. 65, 9, 5, 4, 7, 0, 34, 24, 3, 6, 18, 44, 8, 1, 69, 45. Now, there's some test scores in there. But I feel like, and this is the statistics as well, and then when you watch Rachin Ravindra, if he's opening the batting and he scores 40 runs off 25 balls, off 30 balls, you're off to a good start. He might get out, then we got Kane Williamson coming in, and it's all good. But Rachin Ravindra, he scores quickly in one-day cricket without smashing it. That gives, like, Will Young's just going to take his time, but he can score quickly as well. Just double check Will Young's strike rates, because he does score quickly for someone who doesn't really try hard. 88 and 90 strike rates, which over a long period of time. So far lower than Rachin Ravindra, but he can up the ante as we've seen lately. So I'm like, Rachin Ravindra, he will put up big scores. Like, he's just a really good batter. And we're kind of dealing in the waves of the prodigies. Kane Williamson, Will Young, Rachin Ravindra. That's the prodigy wave. There's other good batters who emerge. Daryl Mitchell is one. But those are the dudes who the streets are talking about when they're 15, 16 years old. It goes Kane Williamson, Will Young, Rachin Ravindra. I think now we're getting into Reese Madiu range. Maybe someone else. Hopefully someone else as well. Maybe 2 prodigies, 3 prodigies. Who knows? Just lots of them. But yes, Rachin Ravindra scores his one-day runs specifically very quickly. And that, when you put it alongside Will Young and Kane Williamson, I think is pretty damn impressive. We don't need to go down that route. But I do want to talk about Will O'Rourke, because that leads me into Super Smash, where Will O'Rourke, ODI against Sri Lanka. He bowled 10 overs, 5 RPO, no wickets. Will O'Rourke, Super Smash, 4 overs, 11 RPO. Will O'Rourke, the bowling phenom, he has gone 2 games with no wickets and lots of runs. Now that alone, who cares? But Will O'Rourke, when he took no wickets in the Super Smash, one of the craziest game days of Super Smash I've ever seen, and it was on the same day, there was a collision in the Big Bash, collision in Super Smash, collision somewhere else, and it was the weekend of just absolute mayhem, because I think Bumrah got injured and Naomi Osaka got injured in the tennis final. Everyone was just getting injured. Crazy shit was happening. To be honest, it just feels like crazy shit's happening everywhere. So just slow down. Take a moment to relax. Ground yourself, because it is chaotic times out there. But in this game, before that, we had a Canterbury capitulation again. Last summer, I did a newsletter about the anatomy of a capitulation for the Canterbury woman, and then they capitulated again at Eden Park. Respect to them, they've had a tough 2 summers. They haven't been winning many games recently, but they might win today against Otago. So I don't want to go too hard into saying that they're not very good. But it was fascinating to watch them capitulate at Eden Park against Auckland when their 2 overseas imports, Matty Penner, the Aussie, walked past the delivery and gave up on the play to be stumped. And then Shikha Pandey, the Indian import, was run out. She was past the crease, but she didn't ground her bat past the crease. So your 2 imports gave up to be dismissed as your team capitulated. As far as overseas import contributions go, that is diabolical. To be honest, it's aligned with how the Canterbury women have been performing, but again, they're playing today, so we'll see what happens. long story short, get back to the point. Canterbury, Kyle Jamieson, Will O'Rourke, Henry Shipley, same bowling attack. Will O'Rourke, no wickets, 11 RPO. Kyle Jamieson, no wickets. And it was left to the one and only Henry Shipley, 5 wickets at 4.7 RPO. So first and foremost, we got the trifecta of tall, freaky Kiwi seamers playing for the same Canterbury team. And guess who was in that team? Regardless of who's available, 3 tall seamers. All 3 have played for New Zealand. All 3, Jamieson, O'Rourke and Shipley, have at least one pocket of international cricketing excellence. For Shipley, I think it's T20 internationals. For O'Rourke and Jamieson,
it might be ODIs.
Yeah, maybe. For the others, it's a bit of everything. Shipley is probably the worst of the 3, but he has done some fantastic stuff for the Blackcaps. And you still have Angus McKenzie in the first 11. Like, regardless of who Canterbury is selecting, they're always selecting Angus McKenzie. Do you know the difference between Angus and McKenzie and Jock McKenzie yet?
No, I still get them mixed up. But one of them hit the other one for 6 first ball when they came onto ball. I think it was Angus hit Jock. Is that right? It's 50-50 chance I could toss a coin. But one of them hit the other one for 6 up almost into the main stadium, Eden Park. It was amazing. Great moment.
Like, Angus plays for Canterbury, Jock plays for Auckland. It's obvious. You're frustrating me here. You're pissing me off. I don't know if you're just teasing me or whatever, but it's all good. I did think, because I've seen Martin Guptill, I think he hit Shoaib Akhtar out of the Eden Park #1 over what is otherwise known as the West Stand. Now, Martin Guptill also hit a ball into Eden Park #1. I think Martin Guptill is one of, if not the only players. I don't think he actually hit the ball into #1, but I'm pretty confident Martin Guptill has hit a 6 from the Eden Park outer oval into Eden Park #1. And that would make Martin Guptill one of the few players to hit a 6 out of Eden Park #1 and into Eden Park #1. That's just a funky little bit of trivia that might not be true, but I thought it was pretty cool because Jock McKenzie, I think that 6 did go into Eden Park #1, which is a big hit when you got to hit it up and over the grandstand to get it into Eden Park #1. Again, Jamieson, O'Rourke and Shipley in the same bowling attack, but it was Henry Shipley who dominated 5 wickets. And I was just fascinated to see that game unfold because we also had we've had the Kerr sisters dominating. We've had the McKenzie brothers playing. Jock McKenzie had the better performance against Angus McKenzie in this game day. And I think Jock McKenzie is a fantastic cricketer. Take nothing away from Angus, who's a fantastic cricketer because he's always playing for Canterbury regardless of who's available. But Jock McKenzie, I think he's going to me, he's already in the mix of like up and coming Blackcaps. Who else do we have? The Boyle brothers. Jack Boyle was playing for CD, and we got Matt Boyle playing for Canterbury. Matt Boyle was one of the best Canterbury batters in this game. Obviously, we had the big Bevon Jacobs innings as well. But don't overlook Shipley. Because not only is he tall, so he's got the Jamieson O'Rourke tall factor, but he also has a funky action. And now we're seeing a lot more of these dudes around Aotearoa. You've got Jock McKenzie is a natural athletic action. Everything is smooth. Everything is just a rhythm. Similar with Will O'Rourke. It's a bit more helter-skelter. And you've got, he describes himself as a baby giraffe or whatever, but you've got a lot going on there. But you can see it's just a nice flowing action. Nathan Smith. Another one, nice flowing action. You've got those type of dudes. And then you've got Shipley and Zach Folks, where they might not have the speed or just the obvious X factor. But when you include their actions, suddenly it's a difficult bowler to face. Like Zach Folks would have seen nice little one. Zach Folks, Kiwi Folks, folks would have seen more of him in that Blackcaps window. That action's unique. He gets hoop and in swing, and he's bouncing dudes at 135 kilometers an hour because of his action. That's what makes him who he is. Henry Shipley is tall, and he's got a unique action, which I can't really describe, but he gets similar. All these dudes. Jamison moves it both ways. Will O'Rourke moves it into right-handers. Zach Folks moves it into right-handers. Henry Shipley's go-to kind of regular mahi is into right-handers. And that's all from their action. Their skills allow them to move the ball both ways, but their go-to action leans the ball into right-handers. And then you've got like Nathan Smith types, Jock McKenzie types who move the ball away from the right-handers, more quintessential, typical Kiwi seam bowling. That's a bit of a tangent there into the Super Smash, but you can pick up anywhere there as we get deeper into Super Smash.
Well, I have a fact, the genuine proper fact here that I can throw out here, which is that Henry Shipley has more ODI wickets than Kyle Jamison. Very surprised to notice that when I was looking at it, but Shipley's got 15 of them, Jamison's got 14 of them. So, yeah, it's definitely ODIs, which is Henry Shipley's big format. I'll check where did I put the thing?
But his T20 cricket is excellent.
Except for his T20 internationals, where he's played 4, has taken 2 wickets at an average of 70.5 with an economy of 10.8. But yes, his actual T20 overall stuff is his best average of the lot of them, and quite comfortably his best average.
I'm still tracking the 10 sixes across all 3 competitions. Bevon Jacobs and Brett Hampton are the dudes to watch out for. Both have 10 plus sixes in Plunkett Shield. I think Hampton has 10 plus sixes in Ford Trophy. Bevon Jacobs might have 2. And I don't know what they are for Super Smash, but I'm tracking that. 10 plus sixes in all 3 formats is pretty funky. Another little thing on the men's side. Well, yeah, so Foxcroft is first 4 wickets. Henry Shipley is second. But there's these dudes. This is the Super Smash here. Do any of these names ring a bell? James Hartshaw, Angus Shaw, Rohit Gulati.
They ring bells, and as much as I saw them playing within the past week, they don't ring bells in that I would, except Angus Shaw, I think he might have played a bit before. I'm not sure. Those are, yeah. Speaking of cricketing freshness, there's 3 more.
James Hartshaw took a 5 for Wellington. Angus Shaw is doing fantastic all-round mahi for CD, 5 wickets, massive strike rate in his 1 innings as well. And Rohit Gulati made his debut for Northern Districts, 3 wickets yesterday in their loss to CD Stags. Did you see Bevon Jacobs batting for Auckland against Canterbury at Eden Park a few days ago?
Yes, I did watch that one.
Was that your first
effortless 6 down the ground? Well, over cover, I think it was, eh?
I mean, he hit a few of them.
He had a couple of 6s. There were multiple, but there was that one shot in particular, which
the
replays in my mind as I mentioned.
So that was your first major dose of seeing Bevon Jacobs, because we've talked a lot about him. We've had the clips of him. Like, what did you make? Like, because I think your perspective might be in tune with the casual Kiwi cricket fan. Okay, there's this dude. He's been selected for the IPL. Now I get to see him bat in the Super Smash. Like, how did that all fit together for you?
Yeah, it probably was if not my first time watching him live, because he'd played some games for Canterbury last year. If not my first time watching him live, at least the first time watching him live with an awareness of who he is, and also seeing him actually showing what he does. So yeah, it probably was a little bit of a not an introduction, maybe an education, perhaps is a better word. I'm not sure, but yeah, I don't know. He's had a wild trajectory, because you you don't normally get the Black Caps call up in the IPL stuff before people have really seen the Super Smash version of you. Um, the Finn Allen trajectory is a little bit more of the what you might expect of the big Super Smash into the Black Caps into the IPL stuff. But I mean, you see hitting that clean, you have an indication that there's something about a dude, right? Like, and especially when as you've highlighted, he's shown this in other formats as well, which frankly is something Finn Allen never did. Finn Allen still has never found a way to be like a first class hitter or whatever. He's not that version of him has never evolved. He's had some moments in ODIs. He's certainly had some moments in one days and domestically stuff, but predominantly T20 with Bevon Jacobs. You can see the hitting that makes him such an effective T20. I still kind of want to say prospect, but also he has an IPL contract, and maybe it's not. He does also still feel like an IPL prospect, though, in a way. Like, we'll see how much he actually gets to play there. Probably not much, if at all. But at this stage in his career, if you're going over there and just doing net sessions with those guys, like, what an opportunity, what an incredible experience that would be, and a learning experience too, but a developmental experience, I suppose. But yeah, to hit cleanly with power is a pretty rare thing, and so early in his career, you can see that already about him. So yeah, I'm happy to jump aboard this dude has something special about him wagon.
Can you just get a more concise answer? Like, how'd you feel? How'd you feel watching it?
As in an emotion, I would
Yes.
say I was going to say excitement. I think maybe enticement, if that's a word, enticing. I don't know. It was a little bit more tantalizing than just plain excitement, which is a bit more of the moment. This is off the moment, but also how much more can this dude do? There's the future prospecting element to it as well. So we'll say I don't know if enticing is a emotion, but whatever, it's close enough.
For a wordsmith, you're not too flash at chucking the words together, but
That's why I use a thesaurus.
that's why you're right. Um, ba, 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 ba. You mentioned first class hitting. Like, Bevon Jacobs isn't a hitter. He's not a slugger.
No,
He yes, he can whack boundaries, and his hype is based on him whacking boundaries. But as we've talked about a few times, his Plunkett Shield runs came slow. He hit sixes in the Plunkett Shield because he's in the 10 plus sixes across all three formats competition, where we don't have a prize because we can't afford a prize. But he bats according to the format in first class Plunkett Shield cricket. He is just a classy batter who then has the ability to extend his strokes. He's got the clarity of mind to follow through with his shots. And when he's got this kind of swing that I've seen a few times where you can see his whole body just getting into the swing. It's usually when the ball's going straight down the ground. And if you just watch the flow of his swing, that ball's gone 1,000 meters away. Just because of all the technical aspects of his body position and how he swings the bat is precise, premium, optimum for hitting boundaries. And because I've clipped up a lot of Bevon Jacobs stuff, I've been early on the Bevon Jacobs bandwagon. Like, it was last summer we're talking about Bevon Jacobs and how he hits the cricket ball. But then that first game of Super Smash, that was his, because he's got the IPL contract, got called up to the Blackcaps but didn't play, to me, that was a very important insight about how the Blackcaps are still developing players. Like, they're not trying to rush you into the team. There's still a process of integrating you into the Blackcaps culture, how they operate, the way they do things, that is bigger than just playing cricket. Like, you need to spend time with the lads. You need to spend time with the boys in this environment, and then we'll get you the game time. And especially for someone like Bevon Jacobs, because he's got that hype, everything's happened fairly quickly. But it's just a nice slow down moment, like just integrate you into the Blackcaps squad. And I think that is quite useful considering I have Bevon Jacobs as one of the best all format batters coming up in New Zealand. But that happened. Then he goes back to the Super Smash. His first game of Super Smash, he comes out and just smashes boundaries everywhere. Takes excellent catch to win the game as well. Like that's what, like Henry Shipley, I think there was an Auckland bowler who did well off the top of my head, maybe Jock McKenzie. That's like Henry Shipley taking 5 wickets, conceding 4 runs and over stands out because of how easy it is to hit boundaries and score runs at Eden Park, the outer oval. Other dudes were smashing boundaries. But the other dudes in that game did not have the same context around them that Bevon Jacobs has. And he just stepped in and did the stuff he's been doing. Just clean, powerful striking, hitting singles, getting the twos he needs, no pressure, calm and composed. And I continue to be impressed by this dude. But again, Bevon Jacobs isn't, like, he has a unique skill set, but he's not a unique cricketer in New Zealand because we've got lots of fantastic cricketers on the rise. And just because you mentioned Finn, I've got a hot take. I reckon Tim Robinson's just a better batter than Finn Allen. And I can think that. There are some stats that back it up. But when you look at how the Plunkett Shield teams are selected for Auckland and Wellington, Wellington always selects Tim Robinson to open the batting. That is his job in any game he's playing for Wellington. When Finn Allen plays Plunkett Shield, A, he doesn't score many runs, and B, he's probably batting down the order. I think Finn Allen is a slugger, a hitter, a whacker. And I think Tim Robinson is just a pure batter in a similar way to Bevon Jacobs. I think they both have the ability to expand their games. They've got a long way to go as far as to getting into the other format teams like the Test team, maybe the ODI team. But they have that upside. They have that potential. And they've already shown glimpses of that in the Plunkett Shield, in the Ford Trophy over a long period of time, where Finn Allen, any Ford Trophy runs he scored, he was whacking boundaries. Any Plunkett Shield runs he scored, he was whacking boundaries. Bevon Jacobs and Tim Robinson have scored big runs in accordance with the formats. One last thing with the Women's Super Smash. Best bowlers, Eden Carson, Fran Jonas, Lee Kasprick. We've got Kirsty Gordon, English International, Amelia Kerr, Chamari Atapatu, Sri Lankan International, Ocean Bartlett. That is 7 bowlers who have got 5 wickets heading into the Canterbury Otago game day today. All of them are spinners. And the Carson, Jonas, Kasprick, all White Fern spinners. Amelia Kerr's got 5 wickets. She's a White Fern spinner. And then Ocean Bartlett, young leggy from CD, is the other bowler who's got 5 wickets. So we've got 2 leggies, 2 offies. Kasprick's a bit of a mystery spinner, and Fran Jonas is a lefty. So we got 5 Kiwi spinners who have got 5+ wickets at the top of the Women's Super Smash charts. And we've got 3 different styles of spin. Just seems nice. It's just stuff I like to see. 2 leggies, 2 offies, and a lefty finger spinner. So given the strength of White Ferns cricket is spin bowling, I don't expect any Super Smash spinner to step up to the White Ferns to earn a spot in the White Ferns. The main thing I think the White Ferns are looking for right now is powerful hitters. Batters who score quickly, and that's why I was high on Bella James. She hasn't quite scored runs recently in the Super Smash. Maybe she'll do it today. But the thing the White Ferns need are batters who can score quickly and score fairly consistently, which is hard to do, but maybe just score quickly. But that is to say, I don't really see any spinner stepping up to the White Ferns anytime soon. But shout out to Ocean Bartlett. And shout out, there's a lot of good spinners around Aotearoa on the women's side as well.